Today I'm going to show you how to make a dressy diamond necklace. Now on my channel there are two tutorials, one of a bracelet and one of a pair of earrings which go with this set called Dressy Diamonds. I have had several requests to make a necklace to go with that set and I never really got around to it, so I have revisited it with another request that I received over the week. A girl really wanted me to make one, so I decided to revisit it and make the necklace that goes with the set. Now I've used different colors of beads on this one, however they are all the same size and it is the same stitch that I used in the other two tutorials, just a different color scheme. I also added a crystal at the end here, which you do not have to do. You can leave the crystal off and it still looks really pretty. So I added the crystal because in the bracelet I put crystals down the center and I wanted to carry the crystal element through. So like I said, you can leave it off if you want. This necklace comes out to be 22 inches long, which is a perfect V-neck type of necklace. However, if you're a very small person, you can do less of the original units or make your herringbone on the end here, the extension, a little shorter. Or you can also lengthen it by adding more original units or making your herringbone a little longer. If you want to make it longer, I would add more of the original units and not really adjust the herringbone. Anyway, this is what we're going to make today. Let's go ahead and take a peek at what is needed for this project. Okay, for this project, you will need 6mm round beads. In my last tutorial for the bracelet and the earrings, I used Drukes. This time I'm using a 6mm round pearl, glass pearl, and it is ivory color. I'm going to be using 11 O's and 15 O seed beads. These are both Toho. This one is metallic antique bronze, and this one is Starlight, which is the galvanized permanent finish gold tone in the Toho line. And then I'm going to use a crystal. Since we used crystals in the last two, well, in the bracelet, I thought I would keep with that theme and use a drop crystal. This one is 10 by 22 millimeters. And it's a Swarovski clear drop crystal, top drilled. Make sure you have a hole in the top for this. Of course, you can use a vertical drilled one. You'll just have to come down through it and fringe back up. But I'm using a top drilled. And then you will need a clasp. I'm going to use a toggle clasp for this one today. And then you will need thread, of course. So I'm going to use 8-pound Fireline in the crystal. And I'm going to use a size 10 beading needle. You're going to need lots of thread for this project, so start by threading onto your needle a wingspan, perhaps 2 if you can work with that much thread, and let's go ahead and get started. Okay, to start this project, you are going to pick up onto your needle first a 6mm round bead and then 3 11 seed beads. And then a 6mm round, and then 3 11 seed beads. And then a 6mm round, and 3 11 seed beads. And we are going to do this until we have 5 pearls on our thread. So I'm going to pick up another pearl and 3 11 seed beads. And I'm just dropping them down the thread a little bit. Since they're not going to all fit on my needle and stay there nicely, I'm just dropping them down a little bit. And then pick up a pearl, and then 3 11 seed beads. And I will show you what we have all together here. Okay, so onto your thread, you will have 5 pearls with a series of 3 11 seed beads in between each one. Start with a pearl, end with a series of 3 11 seed beads. And then bring these to the end of your thread. Leave yourself a tail enough to extend because we will probably be using this tail to do the second side of the necklace. So leave about 6 inches, and then we will extend that. And then tie a knot between your beads. So like so. Bring it down between the beads and tighten them up. Then just push your tail aside, and we will be using that later, so just don't cut it off. Then we are going to sew through all of these beads. So I'm coming out, there's my knot right there. I'm going to go into the purl and the 311 behind it, and I'm going to sew around all of these beads. Try not to pull your knot into your beads if possible. It wants to try to pull, so just pull it back out. I want it between the beads, not in the bead at this point, because we are going to be sewing through these beads, and you don't want it to block it. So if you feel it pull through, just tug it back out. Leave a tiny bit of slack in your line, not enough to where you can see it, just enough to where your beads are not really tight and buckling, because we need to sew between these beads. So just make sure they're not extremely tight. Come back through the purl where you started, like so. Now we're coming out of this purl right here. We're going to go into the 11 seed beads, and we're going to exit the second 11 seed bead. So you're going to go into 2 of them and exit. This unit is different than all the rest of the units we're going to make. In this one, we're using 5 pearls. The rest of our units will have 4 pearls. And in our netting portion in the middle, we are going to use 4 15-0 seed beads and an 11-0 and 4 15-0s in each net. Whereas in the bracelet, we use 3 15-0s and an 11-0 and 3 15-0s. If you are using Miyuki seed beads, you may want to use 5 on your needle and then your 11-0 and then 5. Right now I am putting on, because I'm using Toho's, I'm putting on 4 15-0s, an 11-0 and 4 15-0s. I am coming out of this bead right here. My thread is coming out of the right hand side of the bead, so I'm going to go to my right, and I'm going to skip all of these beads, this 11-0, this purl, this 11-0, and I'm going to go into the second 11-0 in the set of 3 on the opposite side of the purl. So I'm just going to go into that one. Make sure you go in the direction your thread is exiting your bead, otherwise you'll pull your units really strange. There has to be a flow of the thread in this. Now we're coming out of this 11-0 here. We're going to pick up 4 15-0 seed beads onto our needle, like so, and then an 11-0, and then 4 15-0s. Like so. So now that you have, I have 3 on there, I need 4. Yep, 4 15-0s, an 11-0, and 4 15-0s. And then we will go from this 11-0 that we're exiting, and we're exiting to the right. So we're going to go over this way to the right. You don't want to cross. And we're going to go into the middle 11-0 here. It really only seems to be an issue when you start the netting part, because once you started it, you know what direction you're going. Then pick up 4 15-0 seed beads and an 11-0 and 4 15-0s. And then we're coming out of this 11-0 here. We're going to skip over the purl, go into the middle 11-0 in the set of 3 on the other side of the purl. So here, let's go into that middle 11-0. And pull this little net down and push it towards the center. Then pick up 4 11-0 seed bead or 15-0 seed beads onto your needle, and 11-0 and 4 15-0s. That's an 11-0. I have little 11-0s mixed in there. That's going to be lovely. 4 15-0s, like so. Now we're going to go from this middle bead over to this middle bead. And exit and pull through. And push that to the middle. Now we're going to do our last one, so we will pick up our 4 15-0 seed beads and an 11-0 and 4 15-0s. I know you can't see my beads, and people keep asking to see my beads when I pick them up. They're very close to me, but I am zoomed in so close that you can't see them, and if I zoom out, then you can't see my piece as well. So if you have any suggestions on that, let me know, but at this point, it's really difficult for me to get everything in unless the beads, my hands are right on top of the beads, and I can't work like that. It's too cluttery. It drives me crazy. So I'm going to pull this down. I've gone into the first bead that I started in. So what I want to do now, just to secure this, is I am coming out of this middle seed bead right here. I'm going to go into the 11-0 and the pearl behind it, the 11-0 on the other side of the pearl here. Then I'm going to go into the 11-0 in the middle and exit. So the second 11-0 in that series of 3 right there. Then we're going to go up the 15-0 seed beads right here. So just straight up all 4 of them like that. And pull your needle through. Now we're going to join all of these 11-0 seed beads together. So push all your knitting towards the center. It should look like a little star in the middle of a circle, like this. Now I'm coming out of these 15-0 seed beads here, so I'm going to go into the 11-0 at the peak of them, and then I'm going to pick up the next 11-0 in the next peak, like so, and pull my thread through. And then I will pick up the next 11-0 and pull my thread through. If you can pick up more than one at once, great, but they have a tendency to want to get away from you, so one at a time is good enough until you pull them in. Then you can do more than one. Go through all the 11-0s in every single peak. Do not include any of the 15-0s as you do this. Now I've gone through all of them. I need to connect this last one with the first one I went through. So right here, move my tail out of the way, and I'm going to pull them together and draw them together. Now I am going to sew through all of them again. Just the 11-0s. You can pick up 2 at a time now that they're closer together, and then just give them a little tug as you go through so that they will tighten up. Okay, that's what that looks like. Now I am coming out of this 11-0 right here. I'm going to go down the 15-0 seed beads here. Pull my thread through. And so I'm now coming out of these 15-0s. I'm going to go into the middle 11-0 that I connected to, and I'm going to go into the 11-0 behind it and into the pearl next to it. So I came out of the 15-0s and I just went through these 2 11-0s and the pearl. Like so. Now, this is going to be the bottom of our piece. This side, the tail, we will retain to make 1/2 of our necklace portion that goes up around the neck, and we'll use our working thread to make the other half. But we'll make both starts with our working thread, and I'll show you what I mean by that. But first, let's make a little dangle with the crystal down here so that it kind of retains the crystal feature that we had in the bracelet. So let's do that first. Now, the way we're going to do that is we're going to pick up 4 15-0 seed beads onto the needle, and then we're going to pick up an 11-0. And then we're going to pick up 4 15-0 seed beads and an 11-0. So this is what I have so far. Let me back off a little so you can see me pick up the beads. See how far out I am, if you can see my beads, even though they're only like a couple inches away from me. That is the issue with having the beads in frame the whole time. I get people asking me all the time, but it's kind of difficult to do with the way my camera zooms. Other cameras, maybe not, but mine, that's what it does. So now we're going to go through the crystal. So what we had was 4 15-0 seed beads and 11-0, 4 15-0 seed beads. Let me show you. 4 15-0 seed beads and 11-0, 4 15-0 seed beads and 11-0, and then the crystal. And then we're going to pick up an 11-0 and 4 15-0 seed beads onto the needle, like so. Then we're going to go into this 11-0 here, the one in the middle, not the one closest to the crystal, of course. This one right in the middle of the 15-0s. Just pick up your piece, hold your thumb on it so it doesn't run away from you, and just pull that crystal up. Now it's going to be a little loose until we get the other side secure. So we need to pick up 4 15-0 seed beads. Four 15-0s. And then we're going to go through, we're coming out, we started connecting the crystal on this side of the pearl, we're going to go into the opposite side of the pearl. And we're going to pull these down and tighten them up. Now you want them to lay very nice and neat like that, so we're going to sew up through the pearls and the outside 11-0s here to straighten that all up and tighten it up and secure the crystal. So if you want to, you can sew back down through the entire thing again. Let's do that just to make sure that our crystal doesn't cut the thread, because there's only one thread. So I'm coming out of this side, I'm going to go through these 4 15-0s here. Then I'll go through the 11-0 in the center and pull my thread through. And then I will sew through the 15-0s here. And let's back off a little bit. We're way too close. And go through the 11-0 and the crystal. Turn this way. Then I'm going to sew back up through the beads on this side. So the 11-0, the 15-0s, the 11-0 in the center. Get up through that one and I'll pull my thread through. Make sure you don't miss any of them or it's going to bunch up your dangle. Now I'm going to go back up through these 4 15-0s. Now that's going to give a little bit more security for the crystal, because crystals are sharp. Dangling around on there, it could cut our thread. So having a double thread is just a good insurance policy, like that. Now I'm coming out of the pearl, right here again. I'm going to go up these 3 11-0s, which will straighten them up a little bit too. Pull. And then I'm going to go up these 3 11-0s here. I went through the pearl. Now I'm going to go up these 3 11-0s. And this is where our thread is coming out. But our tail thread, we're just going to ignore that tail thread, tuck it under, get it out of the way, because we're going to start the first unit for our necklace in this purl. So this is our bottom purl with our dangle. We're going to skip a purl, and then we're going to start our unit in the next purl. And what we're going to do that is we are going to pick up 3 11/0 seed beads, and these units will only have 4 purls in them, not 5. So we're going to share this purl. We'll need to pick up 3 purls. So we're going to pick up our 3 11/0s first. We're going to pick up a purl, and then 3 11/0s, and then a purl, and then 3 11/0s, and then a purl, and then 3 11/0s. When I bring this down, I'll show you what I have. So on my thread, coming out of this purl here, I have 3 11/0s, a purl, 3 11/0s, a purl, 3 11/0s, a purl, and 3 11/0s. Now I'm going to connect to the other side of the purl. So I'm coming out of this side, I'm going to go into the opposite side and pull my thread through, like so. That is the beginning of my first unit on this side of the necklace. We're going to finish this unit, then we're going to work over here and start a unit here. We'll finish this side of the necklace first, then we'll come back and put our needle on the, we'll actually extend this thread and put our needle on it and work that side of the necklace. So that's why we want to keep our tail. So first let's go ahead and finish this unit. Now with these units, we're going to sew all the way around it to secure it. And with these units, we're going to reduce the number of 15/0s we pick up to make our netting in the middle. So after you sew all the way around, I'll show you what I mean. And this will be the actual unit that we did in the Dressy Diamonds bracelet and earrings. They will be the same units. If you are using Miyuki seed beads, you will have to, with your 15/0s, you will have to add 4 on each unit. I'm going to add 3 on each unit of netting. So now I'm coming out of this purl right here. I'm going to go up into the 11/0 behind it and the second 11/0 and exit. Then I'm going to start my netting. I'm going to pick up 3 15/0s instead of 4 this time, and then an 11/0 and then 3 15/0s. So this is what we have: 3 15/0s and an 11/0 and 3 15/0s. We're coming out of this side of the 11/0, the right side, so we're going to go to the right and we're going to go into the middle bead in our next section of 11/0s between the purls. And we're going to pick up that 11/0 right in the middle, like so, and pull. Turn your unit, pick up 3 11/0s, and then you're going to pick up, or excuse me, 3 15/0s, pick up an 11/0, and 3 15/0s. Then we're coming out of this 11/0, we're going to skip over the purl and go into the middle 11/0 in the 3 between the purls, and pull. Pull that little net into the middle, like so. Turn your piece, and again, pick up 3 15/0s and 11/0, and 3 15/0s. And then from this 11/0, we're going to go over to this 11/0 here. And pull that down to the center, tighten it, and then one more. We will come from this bead to the bead we started in. So we will pick up 3 15/0 seed beads onto the needle, an 11/0, and 3 15 O's. They're arguing with me, I'm sorry. It's taking me a minute. There we go. 3 15 O's, an 11 O, and 3 15 O's. From this bead to this one, we started in right here. Go into it, then you can go ahead and go into the pearl behind it, the 11 O behind it, and the pearl behind it. That'll just secure everything. You could just jump up into the netting, you know, just go through the 11 O and jump up into the netting, but I like to secure it a little bit. So push that up, and then go into the next 11 O and the one after it, the middle 11 O. Let's get a little closer. Pull through, and then these 15 O's right here, we're going to go up into them. Pull your needle through, and then pick up the 15 O's in the center. And here, I somehow have two 11 O's, so I'm going to break one out. I'm just going to take my flat nose pliers and just gently break it out of there so that I don't destroy my thread, and then pull, and so I can tighten. Somehow I picked up two 11 O's. But if you do that, you can correct it, just like I did. Just be very careful not to cut your thread, because these are glass. When you crush them, you can crush your thread. So I always kind of pull over to the side to do it so that I don't smash straight down on my thread. At least I think that that's helping. It may not be. Okay, let's go into the next 11 O. So we're coming out of this 11 O. Let's go into the next 11 O. And get all of my broken bead out of here. And then let's go into the next 11 O. And then go into the next 11 O. And just sew through all four of them in the center, just like we did on the last unit. And pull them tight, like so. And then sew around them one more time. Try not to get any 15 O's. If you do, just back out. Pull them tightly together. Then as we come back around, we are going to exit the 15 O's here. So I'm going to go through my last 11 O right there and the 15 O's at the same time, right like this. Pull my thread through, like so. Now I want to move over in my piece so that I can get over to this side. So what I'm going to do is I am going to come through, let's see, let's do this. Let's go, that's all right. We're just going to have to sew around the entire unit and then come back down through over here, simply because of the fact that I don't want to mess up my thread path. So I'm going to have to go back into this 11O. Had I exited differently, I probably wouldn't have to sew around the whole unit. But we're going to go through these 11Os, we're going to sew around this entire unit and work our way to where we can position the needle to get over to the bead that we need to build our next unit in. So just sew through all the 11Os and all the pearls. Now it may take a minute to do so because when you put your netting on, it pulls that middle bead in, so therefore it's hard to slide through all three at once. If you cannot, just pick up as many as you can and then pick up the next one. Makes them a little bit more difficult to sew through in one shot. Now I'm coming out of this pearl now. I'm going to go into the next three and the pearl. So I will show you where I'm at. This is where I'm coming out now. So I just sewed all the way around the outside. I'm coming out this purl. Now I'm going to sew through these three here, these 3 11-0s. Pull through. And I'm going to go into this purl here. Now I am in position to make my unit to start the other side of the necklace. This side, like I said, we'll just leave our thread in reserve. We'll leave this side alone. And now we're going to build our first unit here and start working on the length of the necklace. So let's build our first unit. We will pick up 3 11-0 seed beads. We're going to be sharing this purl, so we only need to pick up 3 pearls. So we pick up 3 more 11-0 seed beads and a pearl and 3 more 11-0 seed beads. Drop those down and a pearl and then 3 more 11-0 seed beads. So what you should have is your 3 pearls with the series of 3 11-0 seed beads in between all of them. You will start with 11-0s and end with 11-0s, and then you will come into the purl that you are exiting on the opposite side of where you're exiting from. So now, as you can see, we have a little V shape. We're going to build this unit here. So let's go ahead and sew through the entire unit again so that we may begin the knitting process. Now, let's go up through, we've secured it, we're coming out of this purl. Let's go into the 11-0s and exit the middle 11-0 right there. And then we will pick up 3 15-0 seed beads and an 11-0 and 3 15-0 seed beads. We're coming out of the bead in this direction, so we will go to the bead on this side of the unit. So skip over your purl, go into the middle 11-0 and pull your netting down. Continue the netting just like we did on this one all the way around. We'll join it in the center, and then I will be back to show you how to start the next unit. Okay, so I have put on my netting in the middle. Now we're going to join the middle 11-0s, and then we're going to sew up to our next bead that we want to start the next unit from. So what we're going to do is, I'm coming out of this 11-0 here just to secure everything. I'm going to go into the next 11-0, the purl, and the 11-0 behind it. And let me adjust my thread here. And then we will go into the middle 11-0 here, and then into the 15-0 seed beads right next to that 11-0 right here, and the 11-0 in the peak. Then we will sew through all of these 11-0s. So pick up one at a time in the direction that your thread is coming out, and pick up all 4 of them. Now I'm back to the one I started in. I'll pull them tightly and sew around them one more time, because one time is not enough to tighten them. Okay, so here's my 4th bead here. I'm going to come through it. Let's get a little closer just for this part here. Come up through these 15 O's here. Then we will come into the 11 O and go into the purl. Pull that thread down between the beads, and there we are. That's our center of the necklace, and we will start our next unit here. They will all lay diagonally in diamond shapes. So let's go ahead and start our next unit. Okay, to start the next unit, we will pick up 3 11 O's and a purl, 3 11 O's and a purl, 3 11 O's and a purl, and then 3 11 O's, just like we've been doing. Bring them down. This is what you should have on your thread. Now we're coming out of this bead right here on this side. We're going to go into the opposite side and pull them down. And then we are going to sew through all the beads that we just put on to secure them. Once you have gotten to the purl, then you will come into the second bead in the series of 3 11 O's, and you will begin your netting by picking up 3 15 O's, an 11 O, 3 15 O's, come here, 15 O, and then we're coming out of this side, so we're going to go over to this bead here and go through it and push the netting in the middle. Go ahead and finish the netting all the way around, just as we did in this unit, and then secure the middle by sewing up through the 15 O's, and always sew through, after you finish your netting, always sew through the unit of 11 O's and then the next purl, and then come up into the 15 O's and secure the 11 O's. Once you have done that, then we will be back. Okay, so I've just finished my netting. I pushed them all towards the center. And what I was talking about as far as securing is I'm coming out of the 11 O after making my last little net here. I'm going to sew up through the 11 O here, the purl, the next 2 11 O's, and then I will come down into my netting, the 15 O's here, and then come into the 11 O's, or the 11 O in the peak here, right here, and pull my thread through, and then I will secure my 11 O's by sewing through each one. Pull them together and sew through them again. And then once we get to this top 11 O here, right here, we're going to also go through it and the 15 O seed beads here. If you can't do it all at once, not a big deal. You can just do them one at a time if you need to. And then now we're exiting these 15 O's here. We're going to pop up into this 11 O right next to the purl. Make sure your thread goes down in between the beads, and then come up into the purl. And here we will begin another unit. we will pick up 3 11-ohs, a purl, 3 11-ohs, a purl, 3 11-ohs, a purl. I don't like that purl. A different one. And 3 11-ohs. Drop them down. And again go into the opposite side. I will secure this and put my netting on and sew back up to the top bead and do the next unit from this top bead. We will always be going out of this top bead now. We're going to make a V-shaped necklace. So after you put your netting on, then you will secure your 11-ohs, sew up through your 15-ohs, sew into this top bead, and begin your next unit. And do that until you have 14 units, not counting the most center unit with the 5 beads. You're going to start with the unit in front of that and count 14 units. Just count the center hole and go all the way to 14, and then we are going to switch and do a different stitch going this direction. Since this is a V-shaped necklace, we want to draw this up around our necks. So what we're going to do here on our 14th unit, let me get close so you can see. On the 14th unit, I am now coming out of this top purl. So wherever you sew through, you'll sew up like you're going to add your next unit. And you want to be coming out of the bead in this direction so that you can go into these inside beads here, these 3 little beads. So what I mean by inside is this is the inside of the V here. So you're going to go to the inside portion that would be closest to your neck when you wear this necklace. And we're going to start a little herringbone stitch up here to have a portion that goes around our necks, nice and skinny, so that it will go around the round portion. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick up two 15-oh seed beads, 2 11-ohs, and 2 15-ohs onto the needle, and I'll show you. So 2 15s, 2 11s, 2 15s. We're coming out of this purl, so actually don't pick up your beads yet. Go into the 3 11-ohs right on the inside of these 2 purls here. Go into them first, and then pick up 2 15-ohs, 2 11-ohs, and 2 15-ohs. Like so. And then you're coming out of this side of the 3 11-ohs, go into the opposite side of the 3 11-ohs and pull these beads down to them, like so. You have a little loop here now. Go up the 2 15-ohs on this side, so we're exiting the 11-ohs between the purls. Go up into the 2 15-ohs, get into camera here, and then go into the 2 11-ohs and exit. Now let's go ahead and sew around this whole unit to secure it actually. So go ahead and go into the 2 15-ohs, go into the 3 on the necklace again, go back up into the 15-ohs and the 2 11-ohs on the side nearest your needle, like so. Now, arrange those so that they lay in a little loop like this. Then we're going to start a herringbone stitch with our 2 11-ohs. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to just come through one of the 11-ohs. So when you come back through and secure, just come through one of the 11-ohs. So you'll be exiting between the 2 11-ohs. Pick up 2 11-ohs onto your needle. You're coming out of this 11-oh, go into the 11-oh next to it, and just the 11-oh, not the 15-ohs. and then arrange these beads that you just picked up so that they lay on top of the two we started in. And then draw your needle over. You're coming out of the bottom of this 11-0 here. Draw your needle over to the one next to it. Go through it. Sorry, my needle's bent, and I'm having a good time getting through here. And then go through the one on top of it too, like so. And pull your needle through, and we'll just do a basic little herringbone stitch here. So pick up 2 more 11-0 seed beads. You're coming out of this 11-0, go into the 11-0 next to it, pull your seed beads down, make sure they lay on top of the two you're coming out of. They'll start to lay better once we get a little bit more of the stitch going here. Now I'm coming out of the bottom of this 11-0. I'm going to skip over to the one next to it and go up through the bottom of it and go up through the bottom of the bead on the top here and pull. As you can see, it's forming a herringbone now. It's a little clumsy at first, but once you get going, it's not that big of a deal. Pick up 2 more 11-0s. You're coming out of this 11-0, go down into the one next to it. Pull your beads down so that they lay out on top of the 2 that you just put on, and then go into the bead next to the one you're coming out of, in the bottom here. And then up into the one on top of it. Sorry guys, I'm a little clumsy right now because this necklace is heavy and it's pulling my beads. Go into the one on top of it. There we go. Okay, let's see if I can do that a little neater for you this time. Pick up 2 11-0 seed beads. You're coming out of this 11-0, go into the one next to it. Pull these beads down on top, spread them out like so. And then, let me bring my necklace over so it doesn't weigh me down this time. Then, you're coming out of the bottom of this 11-0, go into the bottom of the one next to it, and also up through the one on top of it. Let's do it one more time since I did that so many times, so sloppy. Pick up 2 11-0 seed beads. You're coming out of this 11-0 here, go into the one next to it. Then go up into the one next to the one that you're exiting. So we're exiting here. We're going to cross over to the one right next to it. And we're also going to go through the one on top of that one. And we're just going to continue doing this stitch until we have a couple of inches worth. This is going to be your extension, so what we have so far will make about an 18-inch necklace. We want to make a couple inches on either side because this V-neck necklace, I'd like it to lay down a little bit on the chest rather than right at the neck. So we're going to do a couple of inches of this herringbone, and then we'll put our clasp on, and we'll start the other side. So go ahead and make a couple of inches. When I come back, I will tell you exactly how many units I have made if you would like to match what I have done. Okay, so I have finished my herringbone stitch that'll go around the back of the neck here, and I have done 28 units. This, you can adjust the amount that you make going back this way to adjust your length, or you can also adjust by making less units this direction of your main units. Now, I am hoping to have this be right around or over a 20-inch necklace. I want it to hang down the chest just a little bit. I don't want it to be a collar. So I have made 28 units, and at the end, when I finish this, I'll tell you exactly how long it turns out to be once I measure it. Now I am going to add my clasp onto my herringbone here. So I'm going to pick up, I'm coming out of this bead right here after doing my last stitch of herringbone. I'm going to pick up 2 11-0 seed beads and drop them down, And then I am going to pick up my end of my clasp. And then I am going to go back through one of the 11 seed beads that I dropped down, the one right on top closest to my clasp. I'm going to go back through it and pull my clasp down to my piece, like so. Then I'm going to pick up another 11 seed bead, and I'm going to go down into this side of the herringbone, and I'm going to go down 2 beads and pull my thread through, like so. Then I'm going to cross over and go up on this side 2 beads, and then into the one that I added on top of the herringbone stitch, and then into the one that's right beneath the clasp, right here. Go into it. Then I'm going to go through my clasp, and we're going to sew down again. This time when we come down through the 1 bead right underneath the clasp, then we're going to go through 3 beads in the herringbone. So go down 1 more, pick up the bead that we added, and then go past the 2 first ones in the herringbone and exit the 3rd one in the herringbone. The reason we're going down another section is because if we keep crossing through the same ones, then you'll get a really bold piece of thread sticking out. And you don't want to do that because you're already going to be able to see it a little bit as we do this. Then we're going to cross over and go into the beads next to that and sew up all of them. Go up into the 1 bead beneath the clasp, sew into the clasp, sew back down into the one right beneath it, and that's probably as much thread as that bead's going to take right underneath it. So sew down 4 beads in your herringbone. So pick up, go through the one under the clasp, go through the one we added, and then go through 1, 2, 3, 4 beads on the herringbone stitch and exit the 4th bead and pull your thread through. Center it, make sure that everything looks pretty good, like so. And then we are going to grab this thread bridge in the middle here in our herringbone stitch. Let me get you real close. See how I'm grabbing this little thread bridge? Now, you're going to have to do this gently without pulling your thread out too much, because as you do this, see how I'm leaving my thumb there? I'm just going to gently try to get my knot on that thread bridge without deforming the thread bridge too much. And then I'm going to sew back down into the herringbone and pull that knot deep into the beads there. You just have to kind of play with it because you don't want, I hope I was in frame, hope you saw that. I just made a knot on the thread bridge and then sewed down some beads and pulled, because you can see where we've sewn through to reinforce the clasp. You can see that the thread bridge gets a little heavier, which is okay. It's not going to be under magnification when you look at it with your bare eyes, so it's not going to be horrible. But if you get too carried away with it, it will look bad. So I'm going to sew down a few more beads in my herringbone on this side. I'm just going to pick up like 5 of them. Then I'm going to cross over and I'm going to pick up 5 on this side, or 6, or however many you want to pick up. It doesn't matter. Pull through, then cross over again and go through the other side and travel down several of your beads. And then cut off your thread. Leave a little extra and burn it down, and that'll be another knot. Get it away from everything here. Just put your flame close and let it melt down, and then tuck it in. And that's how you'll add the clasp. Now we are going to start the other side of our necklace. So what we're going to do is, this is where we left our little tail thread. I'm going to turn this over so you can see. We're going to get close. I'm going to put my needle on this thread, this tail thread, and I'm going to sew up to this top bead here. So let me grab my needle and thread it. Once you get your tail thread on your needle, then we're coming out of this bead right here. We're going to sew up through these 3 11/0s here. I only caught 2, so I'll go back and get the 3rd one. Then we'll sew through the big bead and the 11/0 behind it. If you catch it, that's okay, because we're going to pick up all 3 of them anyway. So I'm going to get the 2 here on my needle, come up through, and then I am going to come up through this purl. Now I'm going to straighten this out so you can see exactly where I'm at. So here is the bottom of your necklace, and I'm coming out of this purl towards the inside. Doesn't really matter what side you're coming out of, but you should be, if you started the same way I did, you should be coming out the same way I did. Now, we did not leave a long enough thread, just enough to extend. So we're going to extend this thread now. So what I like to do, let me back off a little so you can see, I left a fairly decent length of tail, probably about 5-6 inches. So what I will do is I will cut it down to about 3 inches. Enough so that I can tie a knot, a square knot. I'm going to grab another long length of thread off my spool here, and I'm going to take the new thread and join it with the tail thread. So I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this. I do have a video on my new channel, and it's called Threading Beading Needle and Adding Thread to a Project, or Extending Fireline and Adding Thread to a Project, something like that. But it's video number 3 or 4 on my new channel, and that's GGC's Beginning Beaders. So you can check that out and see a more detailed way of doing this. Now, I have my tail thread. I have my new thread. I am going to take my tail thread and place it on top of my new thread. Then I'm going to bring my new thread over the top of the tail thread. So I've just twisted it like so. And then I'm going to take the 2 ends of the thread on this side now, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to lay one on top of the other and bring it under, like so. So what I am doing is tying a square knot. So you can see now I have it crisscrossed here in a loop, crisscrossed in the top of the loop, and I'm going to take the 2 ends here and pull it down tight. Get it as close to your beadwork as possible so that you're not pulling this thread through your beadwork, this knot, a million times. So what you're going to do now is you're going to take these ends, and I like to cut them short towards the knot so that when I pull it through, my knot is close to my work as I can get it. So I'm going to cut them short, and then I am going to place my lighter. I'm going to take these threads and place them in the bottom of the flame of the lighter, just close to it. Just let it melt them a little bit into a little blob. Keep your knots as small as you can, but make sure you have blobs on them. So this is what I talk about, blobs. See the little tiny blobs on the end here? And then take your ends and pull, like so. You'll pull the 2 knots together. It will create one knot that's very strong. And then you can continue with your thread. Now it's extended. So let me back off, and I will thread my needle, rearrange my work here, and I will thread my needle, and we will start another unit on this side. And then we will do this side exactly the same as we did the other side and clasp it too and call it done. So I'm going to thread my needle on my new long thread, and I'm going to start a new unit. So we're going to do just like we did with these units here. We're going to pick up 3 11-0 seed beads and then a pearl. Let me get some 11-0s and pearls over here. So it's 3 11-0 seed beads and a pearl, and then 3 11-0 seed beads and a pearl, and then 3 11-0 seed beads and a pearl, and then 3 11-0 seed beads. This is what you should have on your needle, just like this. Drop this down to your work. And now we will come back around, and you can see that my beads just slid right over that little tiny joint I made. And now I will come back through the opposite side of the bead we started in, like so. And then I will sew around this unit to secure it. So I'll just go into all the beads on this unit. Until I get back to the pearl I started in. And once I go through it, then I will come up through the 2 11-0 seed beads. So here I am coming out here. I'm going to go through 2 11-0 seed beads here and exit the middle one and begin my netting. So you're going to do the netting stitch with the just like this, and you're going to do the units exactly the same as we did on this side. You will do the exact same amount that you did on this side. Don't count the center unit, just leave the center unit out and count your units from here up. And make sure that you have the same amount on this side as you do on this side. And then we will make our herringbone stitch, and we'll clasp it just like we did the other side, and then I'll be back. So just go ahead and finish this entire side exactly the same, do your herringbone exactly the same, put your clasp on the exact same way, and then I will come back and show you the finished piece. If you need to back up the video to remember how to do the stitches or how to clasp or whatever, just back the video up. It's too repetitious for me to do the whole thing again. So go ahead and finish your necklace, and I'll see you back in a minute. Okay, so I am back. I have finished this entire side, all of my 14 units of my original weave here. And then I made my little attachment on the end and attached my herringbone and my clasp. Let me get a little closer to that area. So just remember, when you finish your 14 units, to make your connection for your herringbone, make sure to go towards the inside of the necklace, the inside of the V on these three, just like these 3 11-0s, just like we did on this side. And make your herringbone, attach the other end of your clasp, and this is what you end up with. Let me see if I can, there. And that is what you will end up with. And I think it turned out to be quite pretty. So anyway, that's what the Dressy diamond necklace looks like. And I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you make one. Bye-bye.